Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I am really excited about this quilt behind me. This is one of Natalie's quilts and it is so much fun. It's a little out of the box for me and those of us that, like doing things a certain way. It's going to challenge us a little, but that makes it a lot of fun. This is a Wonky star quilt and I just want you to take a look at this. It's 20 blocks and it's 4 across by 5 down. And it's just a great little quilt and so fun to make, really freeing. So what you're going to need to make this quilt is you're going to need 20 solid squares or about 2 yards of background material. And if you get the background material, that will also include your little bitty border. And you're going to need 20 squares of 10-inch squares of a layer cake. But my layer cake actually has 2 squares of each one, which means you're either going to need 8 charm packs or you're going to need a layer cake that has double squares in it. Because to make the block, you're going to use 8 blocks of background fabric and 5 blocks of your star fabric. And then you're going to just do just the opposite for the next one. The next one will have 8 blocks of colored fabric and 5 blocks of the white star fabric in the center, because every other one on this quilt is opposite. But this is a really cool way to make a star. So this is the block we're talking about, and it's super easy. It goes together just like a 9 patch, but you get to decide where the legs on the star go, which I think is really fun. You don't have a pattern. You just get to be a free spirit on this. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to use charm squares. They're all 5 by 5 squares, and I'm going to show you how to make these wonky legs. Now you want to make them a little different so they're a little bit off so it has that wonky look. When you look at your charm, you'll see that this right here is just about the center of the charm right here. And you want your leg to cross over the center on both sides so that you'll get a good 1/4 inch seam when you put them together. So I'm going to take my other charm of my opposite color and I'm going to put it just past the middle here. Now, see where I lay this square? That's going to give me a leg that looks like this. I can pull this down so I can make a longer leg. You could do whatever you want, and every one is going to be different. So let's go ahead and make a long leg on this one. So you just want to make sure it just goes just beyond the center up here. And we're going to sew a 1/4 inch right down here. So let's go over to the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine, and I'm going to put my presser foot down and put it down just right on that, the edge of my fabric. I'll let my fabric be my guide. And we're just going to sew that down. And then we're going to go over here to the ironing board and iron that back. Let me clip these threads a little bit. There we go. So now I'm just here at the ironing board. So we're just going to set this seam and we're just going to roll this back. Now it's going to have an odd shape to it, but what we're going to do is we're going to use this back piece here, our original star charm, as our pattern, and we're just going to trim this block off. So we're going to come up here and trim that side and just cut it right back to its original 5-inch size, and do this one too. And then I'm going to open this up right here and I'm going to trim this little edge off right here. And I just lay my ruler right on that edge and just give it a trim. So because we've trimmed it to the size of the square, it'll retain its 5 by 5 shape. So now we have one star leg on, and we're going to put the other leg on. And what I like to do is I just take this other piece that's left over from the first leg, and I'm going to put it on here like this. I want to make sure it's just a little different so we can have that wonky look, and I'm making sure that this piece crosses over the middle, and then we're just going to go here and sew it on. You've got to be a little bit brave to do this. And now let's head back to the ironing board. But you've got to be a little bit brave to do this because it's a little out of the box, We're used to doing things that tell us exactly what size to cut and exactly what to do. And it's a little freeing because everyone looks a little different and it's just kind of fun. So we're going to do the same thing now. I press that back and I'm going to use the original square as my pattern, and I'm just going to trim this off. Oops, you got to open your blade first. That's always helpful. So we're trimming this up. And then we'll do the same thing on this edge right here and trim off the back. And I'm just going to lay that right there. Give that a trim. And we have our star legs, and they're just a little bit wonky. We like that, just a little bit wonky. So then when you lay this out, I've made the other legs already, but look how fun this is. Because it's a 9 patch, you're going to sew it together in rows of 3. So you're going to put your 2 corners out, and your legs are going to point toward the middle like that. And then you have legs again on your sides, because this is traditionally how we make a star, but it's just so fun because it's just a little different, and we get to choose, you know, choose how our legs look. I'd like to choose how my legs look. You get what you get, right? And you don't throw a fit. Okay. So see, take a look at this star. Look how cute this is going to be. So we've got it all laid out here, 3 rows of 3. And now we're just going to sew it together row by row. So let's take this first row over to the sewing machine, and I know that my legs are going to be in the middle, and my 2 pieces are going to be on the outside of the legs. So I'm just going to carry this little stack over there and put them together like this. There's no, I mean, this is one of those great times. You don't have to be perfect. You know, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just a fun thing to do, just a really fun thing to do. So here's my first row. And I really loved this. At first, it really did make me a little bit nervous. But once I started doing it, I could hardly wait to finish the next one because it was so fun. It was just so amazing how they all looked good, even if they were completely different. So there's my first row. And then these legs are pointing outward. So we're just going to fold one over that side and sew that on. And then when we get to the sewing machine, we'll do exactly the same thing with the other side. So let's head over there. Do this second row. All right, there we go. Now let me just show you something really quick, a tip, just before I sew. So see right here where these threads cross like this? You can see that, I hope. Right there, as long as you are on this side of that cross, you will never lose a point. And we like keeping our points. So just make sure anytime you're sewing anything where the threads cross like this, make sure that you are on the seam side of that cross and you'll never lose that point. So you can put that piece on top as you're sewing, and as you're going along, you'll see that you have plenty of room and you won't lose that little star point. So that makes it, that's a good little tip to know. Quilters love their points. There we go. All right, here's our second row. And I have gotten these backward before, so it's always good to check. There we are. So there's our second row, and now we're going to sew our third row, and this one is done just like the first one, where we've got our legs are going to be pointing down, and these go on either side. So now I've got these 3 rows together, so let's press this last one. Make sure that when you're pressing these, you can check to see if, you know, it's helpful if your outside seams go out and your inside seams go in, then they'll nest better. But now all you have to do is put the block together. So we're going to lay this top row this way, and we're going to make sure that these seams line up right here. These are the points you want to worry about, these corners. So I'm just going to put a little pin in there. And I'm going to put a little pin over here. You can feel how they nest right together. And so I've got a little pin in those. And then I can just head over the sewing machine and whip those together, because they're pinned down, so we can sew straight down that edge. Again, I'm watching this point to make sure I sew on the seam side of those threads crossing. There we are, and one more row. So look how cool this is. It's all done and together, and this is fun because this one has the background fabric as the star, and this one has the colored fabric as the star. Now these are just scraps from my stash, so when you put yours together, you're just going to want to mix and match them all up. I think this is going to look adorable in any kind of fabric that you choose. We use the Amy Butler stash fabric for this quilt, and it's adorable. But think if you made this, you know, even the Civil War quilts and the baby quilts, I think it would be so darling. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Wonky Star Block from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.